I don't get it back? Did it ever cross your mind?
I was sure I was going to have it back.
But you had no adequate assurances that you were going to get that money back.
Not only could he not even pay for his ticket, he didn't even come with a tuxedo. He had nothing to wear for the wedding. He had to go and buy him a suit. He told me he would make sure that money was replaced. And so I gave him leeway up until then. I said, fine, we'll pay for the ticket, and then you'll replace the money. Okay, we'll buy him a suit, not a tuxedo, because I'm not going to spend that much money on someone like that, on a tuxedo. So I agreed that he would do that and then replace the money. But I never agreed that he would use any of that money for a bachelor party. We had discussed it, what he was going to do for his bachelor, what I was going to do for my bachelorette party.
Did you have your bachelorette party?
Yes, and I did not spend any money from our wedding to do that. Because we had our separate accounts. That one account was just specifically for the wedding. He had his account, I had my account.
When Judge Karen's court continues.
And so here I am on the day of my wedding, that's supposed to be the happiest day of my life, worrying about there's not enough food, being embarrassed about that, and having to ask to borrow money when I worked my butt off to have the wedding that I wanted.
Do you see the pain that she's in?
We're back in session with Judge Karen as Carol Jones is trying to recover the money she says her husband took from their joint account and spent on his bachelor party instead of their wedding.
So what did you do the day of the wedding now?
The day before the wedding, when there was nothing, I called them up. And I said, what's going on? They're telling me we're on the negative. They're saying that there's charges to this hotel. This is not the hotel where your family is staying. What's happening? So then he tells me, oh, baby, you weren't supposed to find out. I was supposed to put it in before you could see that. And I said, I'm sorry? What did you do with it? And he says, oh, I used it for the bachelor party. So I started cussing him out. And I said, well, what the heck did you do? What did you do? You know, pay for hookers, pay for... What could cost close to $2,000?
Did you pay for those $2,000? Well, let me find out. That is a lot of money for just a bathtub and some milk.
I had a right to that money because I put up about 40% of that money.
You didn't have a right to take the money that we've been saving for a year for our wedding and pay for your bachelor's party, because that wasn't the understanding as to why we put our money together. What else did you do with the $2,000?
I bought a camcorder, tripod.
You haven't found that tape yet?
I don't even think I want to find it.
What else did you do with the $2,000?
No, it was a big party. It was me transitioning from...
Transitioning from what?
Well, I was the head of household of my family, my brothers. I took care of my brothers. And so now I was about to transition into having my own family. I was about to start my own family. So
So this was your last hurrah?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Your last time to be free?
Well, I wouldn't say free, but...
Well, I mean free. That this is the woman that you're supposed to cohabitate and sleep with for the rest of your life right here. So this is supposed to be like the last time. Has he been faithful with you since then?
No.
Not a bit, huh?
No.
Still trying to get it out of his system after spending $2,000?
Looks like it, yes.
He looks like what?
It looks like he's still trying to supposedly get it out of his system.
Is that true? You're still trying to get this out of your system?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, well, she says you still haven't been faithful to her. Tell me about the wedding. So how do you make it through the wedding you don't have the money?
Your Honor,
I want to hear about the wedding. Go ahead.
So after I find out that we're on the negative at the bank, the first thing I have to do is I have to go through the embarrassment and the pain of calling my friends, my family members to try and borrow money to pay. Because the last payment, the last payment for the cake was still due. The rest of the money for the catering was still due. And I mean, I was really, really lucky that it was my friends catering this party, or else there would have been no food whatsoever.
Were you able to borrow the money?
I was able to borrow part of the money, not the whole thing.
What did you do to borrow money to make sure that you could pay off these expenses from the wedding? Did you start making calls?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Did you find one dime to add?
No.
One dime?
No. So
wait a second. Those 10 friends that came to your bachelor's party couldn't each come up with $20. They were probably putting dollar bills in the straps of those girls. They couldn't come up with $20 a piece to help pay for this wedding?
No, Your Honor. That's why I had to start
back to the wedding. So what happened on the wedding?
So my friend who did the catering told me that he would do like a buffet.
Right.
And he would have to cut down on food because there's just no money.
Right.
So that meant half of the people that were invited were fed. And the other half weren't because there wasn't enough
How did that work
food.
out? I mean, you mean there's a buffet line and then it just ran out of food halfway down the line?
It ran out of food. And so here I am on the day of my wedding, that's supposed to be the happiest day of my life, worrying about there's not enough food, being embarrassed about that, and having to ask to borrow money when I worked my butt off to have the wedding that I wanted. I mean, I didn't let him do it all on his own. I worked my butt off for it as well.
When Judge Karen's court continues, the dramatic verdict is read. During the commercial break, the courtroom gallery voted for whom they thought would win this dispute. And now, here's how they called the case.
And how was the wedding, though? I mean, this was like the day of the couple and love and...
It was all pretend. I had to
pretended.
pretend. I had to swallow my pride, and I had to pretend that everything was fine. Because I had to make the payment for the last payment for the cake so late, I was put last on the list of deliveries. So I'm taking my pictures, my wedding pictures, and my mom is calling me from the hall telling me, honey, the cake is not here yet. Honey, the people are, are coming in and the cake is not here. The cake didn't get to the reception until we were in the middle of eating our food. And they brought it and they didn't have time to decorate it or do anything.
Oh, no.
My mom was running around.
Did they have a little man and woman on the top?
Because I had bought that special,
Right. And what was he doing that day? What was he doing?
Oh, nothing. Just pretending like everything was fine, or honey, everything will be fine, or don't worry. And when I told him the cake is not there yet, I'll go buy you one. It's okay. I mean, like it was no big deal.
Let me ask you a question. Would it really make everything right if you got this money? It's not about this money.
It's about him finally fessing up to what he did.
He already confessed to what he did.
But he's never truly, on that day when I found out.
What do you want him to say to you?
That he screwed up and that he was selfish. He's never said those words.
Are you
He's
ready?
always said, oh, it was just
Let
for
me ask
this,
you,
for that.
You see the pain that she's in 6 years later?
It's not as bad as she says, Your Honor.
Why can't you say I screwed up the biggest day of your life? You have told me at least 2 or 3 times how important that bachelor's party was. And suppose your brother didn't come through with the money, and suppose you didn't have that joint account with her, what would have happened to that bachelor party, your rite of passage for you? What would have happened to you? But you made sure that your dream came true, and to hell with her dream. And now you want to tell her it's not a big deal.
I made adjustments too.
What's your adjustment?
I called maybe 50, 60 of my friends and coworkers and told them don't show up for the wedding, so that way they didn't have to eat so much food.
How did that take away
How
from
did that
my
take care of her problems?
embarrassment?
Excuse me a second. You're never going to get him to admit this to you. Quite frankly, I think you married a loser. I think you married a loser. I'm sorry to say that to you. You see, you heard him say it was his last rite of passage, and yet he's still being unfaithful to you. Here you are 6 years later, still feeling the pain of that humiliation. And if he loved you the way he said he loved you, he would say, baby, I'm sorry I screwed up. But right here in open court, in front of these witnesses, he still can't say that to you. You're not going to get any justice. I could give you back all this money, and you still got the problem that's standing over there. You could do better than this man right here. You can. You don't need his validation at all. But we're not in counseling, we're in court. I'm ready to rule. You told me that 75% of the money was yours. 75% of $2,650 is $1,987.50. So my judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,987.50. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We have much more from Judge Karen's court. Stay tuned.
I feel like I actually deserved the whole money back because that was supposed to be his contribution for the wedding, not for his bachelor party.
I just really want to apologize.
If in all these years he still couldn't tell how much that hurt, I mean, that's something to think about.
Why don't I believe you?